Welcome to So You Think That Was Good, Do You? A podcast where we take a look back at the films from your childhood and question the absurdity of their universes. My name is Evan, and as always, I am joined by Johnny and Carl. Boys, don't tell me you're not doing good. I know why you're not doing good. How you doing? Let's hear the positive stuff first.
Well, I know who's not doing good now, and that'll be Sam after your as always. As always, it's Carl and Johnny.
As of lately, Carl and Johnny.
But I'm just so proud of you right now, Evan. I was 100% ready for an Irish accent in that introduction.
No, well, as we found out before the recording, I cannot do one, but neither can Warwick Davis.
If this movie has taught me anything, it's that even if you can't do it, doesn't mean you shouldn't do it, apparently.
I don't know, shouldn't sometimes mean shouldn't.
But it doesn't mean won't.
Yeah.
If they'll pay you to do it badly, do it badly.
Sure.
We both good?
Yeah, mate, I'm alright. It's good to be back. I've been off for a couple of episodes. It's nice. Well, we were going to do this before, weren't we? And I'd watched half of it maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And then watched the second half of it today. So I'm hoping I still remember the first half of it. It's pretty easy to follow.
Yeah, I'm in. It's not a movie that you have to think about.
Not especially, no.
Carl, how are you?
Missing Sam now. I'm doing good, mate.
Fantastic. Well, this week, we watched 1993's Leprechaun. Why? I don't know. None of us have ever seen it before. I've tried to watch this movie.
No, you made me watch this because you love this movie.
Incorrect.
Don't say this now.
I tried to watch this movie twice, once for fun and once for the pod with Johnny, and both times failed at the same point. I was really hoping we were going to do something else this week. It turns out I'd seen the fourth Leprechaun, which is Leprechaun in Space, and I don't think I was really watching. It was one I'd put on in the background. I was like, I need something that's background noise I don't have to pay attention to whilst I do some work. And I'd incorrectly thought it was this movie. This movie stars Jennifer Aniston in her first on-screen role, probably, and Warwick Davis. He's been in stuff before this. He was in, Dark Crystal, Star Wars, yes, all sorts. The movie had a budget of 1 million, if that helps you picture what kind of quality we're dealing with, and it returned 8.6 million in the box office. So
Not bad.
There you go. That is better than I would have thought.
Yeah. That's actually pretty good. Because you think about the return on that. Was it they have like £100 million budgets and stuff now, and they're lucky if they break 500. So that's pretty good.
Hey, the movie's not though, is it? So we were all tricked.
Hey, that 8 million led to what, 6 more?
Yeah. I mean, the one in space sounds good.
Pretty good. It's in space.
It is crazy that they go from in space to in the hood. It feels like space is the last place you go. You don't come back from space to the hood.
What's more dangerous than space, Cole? In the eyes of a 1990s white executive, the hood.
I haven't seen the newest Fast and Furious, but I know they go to space. If the next one was them back doing stuff they did in the first one, just back on the streets, it would feel like a downgrade.
No, everything's cyclical.
We're just drag racing again.
Back to our roots. Paul Walker's back.
Well, let's get started as we always do with the plot synop. Dan O'Grady steals 100 gold coins from a leprechaun while on vacation in Ireland. The leprechaun follows him home, but Dan locks the murderous midget in a crate. Oh my god, I did not pre-read this beforehand, I'm so sorry. This is from Google.
It's fine, it's got alliteration, so that makes it good.
Fucking hell. Held at bay by a four-leaf clover. 10 years later, JD and his daughter Tory rent O'Grady's property for the summer. Well, I'm reeling still. When their new neighbours accidentally release the leprechaun, he goes on a murderous rampage to reclaim his gold.
Ooh. Sorry, man, I missed the start of that. Can you do it again?
What? He was a murderer of something, Evan. I didn't quite hear that.
The leprechaun follows him home, but Dan locks the dangerous dwarf in a crate, held at bay by a four-leaf clover.
Nice.
Absolutely insipid stuff. Let's not dwell on that, boys. Let's get straight into this fucking movie. The movie opens with our titular character absolutely jizzing it over a pot of gold. He fucking bloody loves that stuff, and it's important to note because that's what all of the movie is about. And before we even go anywhere, I really want to address Warwick Davis's costume, which is absolutely mind-bendingly top-heavy. Those shoulder pads are an insane danger to him. Every time he walks anywhere, he's wobbling left to right. They're like straight out of the 80s. It makes him look like he's a domino about to topple every time he runs somewhere. And I feel like just out of shot, there's loads of those, those red cables with a little red triangle on the end that they have at all people's homes they pull if they fall. There's just one every step for him. He's going down.
This film almost fell at the very first hurdle for me because I've said it before, but like, pun not intended. But it's that it shows the fucking baddie straight away. It's not scary if you know exactly what they look like.
Oh yeah, they stick him in the shadows afterwards for quite a while. But yeah, that opening scene just removes some of the mystery somewhat.
Yeah.
Here he is in his bright green suit with his top hat.
I didn't look into this, but I feel like this was written originally as a horror movie with the Leprechaun as an actual horror character. Then they realised it was coming off a bit funny. So they reshot some stuff, maybe they re-scripted some stuff, they did that intro, and they leaned into it, because this is not a horror film. Once you watch all of it, you realise it is very much shooting towards comedy, but it fails at that too. It falls short of comedy also.
One bit in particular we'll get to later nearly made me wee myself.
I appreciate an unpredictable movie, but when you go into a horror movie, you expect some of the main cast to be at threat or die. So in that regard, that no one that you get a name for dies in this movie does remove from the horror aspect of it.
We're going to touch on that more later, so remember that, folks. We'll touch on it a lot.
Put a pin in it.
He also says his famous line here, if this character has it, which is, try as they will, try as they might, who steals my gold won't live through the night. I don't know if that's a thing people know, but, these characters usually have their famous lines or sounds. Freddy Krueger has his little fucking song in Nightmare on Elm Street.
He loves a rhyme.
There's also a song in this, right? There's a little girl singing at some point. That might be the extent of it.
Oh, yeah. That comes up a couple of times, doesn't it?
He sings Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and
Bang.
Ring Around the Rosie as well. Just all over the place. Picking songs that kind of sound creepy but are in no way related to leprechauns.
His many catchphrases are just anything that an American person thinks an Irish person would say.
Things you hear on St. Paddy's Day that have never been uttered in Ireland.
Yeah. Things that you'd see on a T-shirt.
Yes, yeah. We then switch over to another introductory character here, Daniel O'Grady, who arrives back at his ramshackle little home they're in America, North Dakota, that's where they are. And he pulls up in this big limousine in a white suit. He tips the driver big time. And his wife comes out. She's all worried about what he's doing because they clearly don't have a lot of money. But he tells her that he caught a leprechaun over in Ireland whilst he was on holiday at his mum's funeral, forced it to show him where its pot of gold was, which is an insane premise once we learn what this leprechaun can do. He says that's the rules, but that is not the rules the movie establishes at all. And he gets the pot of gold and he shows it to her. He breaks apart this urn, which everyone thinks his mum is in, and it's actually the pot of gold, and it kind of ends there for a moment.
Mum's just fucked off in a ditch somewhere, so he's got room for his bag of gold.
Really heavy ashes.
He emptied her out somewhere.
It's out the plane.
The leprechaun leads him to the pot of gold. He's got nothing on him because he's just got a suit on. He's just got the urn. So he takes the top off, puts her somewhere for later.
See you, Mum.
It's what she would have wanted.
He pulls into their farm in a limo, doesn't he? It's like demonstrating how loaded he is. He hasn't sold any of this gold, by the way, at this point.
Exactly.
So how's he affording the limo?
He does that to demonstrate how loaded he is, and then to demonstrate how Irish he is, just downs an entire bottle of Jameson's.
Yes!
So
smashed.
This man is dead.
Great fucking product placement. It's so good, you'll down the bottle. When did limo stop becoming the transport of the ultra wealthy and be like purely the transport for drunken Hindus?
This movie?
Yeah.
Once you find out that you don't need a pot of gold to hire a limo, they lose all value.
Some foreign dignitary saw Leprechaun and was like, nah, we'll just have a normal car from now on.
SUVs.
Yeah.
So all I'm imagining is some foreign dignitary just hanging out the top of a limo now, before it was just a Hindus. Woo! World peace.
Oh. So Daniel pops out, probably to hide this gold somewhere, because he thinks the leprechaun might come back. And his wife is piddling around the house, making a cup of tea, when she hears a child's voice coming from the suitcase. And it turns out to be the leprechaun from Ireland, who chases her to death. She runs through the house, she falls down the stairs. I mean, that's a death sentence to anyone her age, so she is out. There's none of those cables I was talking about down there. She is done. Also, I'd love to see the movie of the life of the TSA agent who scanned this suitcase with a child-sized body in it and was just like, yeah, fuck this. I want to go home.
Not today. I've got too much to do tonight.
Oh, so the husband comes back in. He finds the leprechaun. He's pretending to be his wife. So we learn here that the leprechaun can mimic voices. But the leprechaun doesn't use this for anything. He mimics the voice, then immediately walks into shot to reveal to Danny it's him. And is like, I want my pot of gold. Get used to that line. He says it a fucking lot.
But what do you want, Leprechaun? What do you want?
It's the gold, bro. Want me gold? Oh, I'm so confident.
He has this ability to mimic every sound. So he does animals, he can imitate the people in the movie. So it means the only voice this leprechaun can't do is a little Irish leprechaun.
He's been out of character so long. He's too method.
Well, Danny digs out his 4-leaf clover, which, even though he found out leprechauns existed in Ireland, he has one of these lying about in his house.
All Irish people do. They down Jamesons and they've got 4-leaf clovers in the bedside table.
And he grabs his gun as well. He blasts a little fucker and pops him in a box, which he had like pre-made. It was very Blue Peter of him. Like, here's one I made earlier. Pops him in there, pops the lid on, pops the 4-leaf clover on top. Yeah.
3 nails in the top. That'll be fine.
I love as well that he had the 4-leaf clover just in his man drawer with like dead batteries and shit. We all have one.
An old phone.
I might need that.
About £6 in coppers.
And dead pens.
Yeah. A clipper without the flint.
Yeah. Oh, so he seals the leprechaun into this wooden box. But even though he's done that, the leprechaun still has some powers. And as Daniel's going upstairs, he pours like gasoline on the box. He goes upstairs. He's about to light the match. And the leprechaun uses his stroke powers to make Daniel unwell. And Daniel falls to the ground. You think he dies here, but he is in the movie later, as we've already noted.
I think he died in the first draft.
Yeah.
They just needed to fill a little bit of something later on. How else will they figure out the 4-leaf clover thing? But this is the introduction to our monster. And it's not really the most violent of murders he commits, where you go, oh my god, this is a scary guy.
Yeah.
His first victim slips down the stairs, and the second one may well have died of a stroke, and he just downed a whole bottle of Jamesons.
And then ran up the stairs.
Both died of seemingly natural causes.
Well, that's where we leave off with these characters for now. It's 10 years later. Tori, our protagonist, and her father, JD, are moving into the O'Grady house in North Dakota. Tori's played by Jennifer Aniston. She's thoroughly unimpressed about this new house they're staying for a summer because she's like a city girl and this is a piece of shit. Tori decides there are too many spiders in the basement and too much dust in the house and she's going to stay in a hotel. But then she bumps into Nathan, another main character, spilling his paint all over the place. And they have like a little tete-a-tete, basically about sexism, where he's like, you're a pussy, and then she's like, I'm not a pussy, and this is how the movie happens. This is how she's in the movie, because she's like, no, I'm a man too.
Yeah, this is the 90s, and women are treated equally now. Just like to imagine just Harvey Weinstein just off camera, nodding, going, yep, that'll keep him off the track if we put stuff like that in the movies. This relationship they decide to build between these two is weird. For a horror movie, it's like one of those Lifetime classic movies of city girl moves to the country, she's so uptight, and then she meets a country boy, and he makes her happy, now they fall in love. As long as you change everything about who you are, he will want you.
And then you add a leprechaun and you've got yourself a horror movie, baby.
You've got a hit.
Now we just need someone who can't do the accent we want.
I reckon they probably just made the suit first and then just had to find someone who fit it and then just hope they could do the accent.
They made the suit, they put it in the wash, it shrunk. Really narrowed their options.
You reckon he was full-sized in the first draft?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, we had one suit.
I think they were making Elf 10 years earlier.
Because they brought this back like 5 years ago. They did Leprechaun Returns.
2040. Oh,
18.
Leprechaun Returns. Oh,
Yeah.
so they did another... Okay.
They did another one and just shoved like a 6-year-old boy in the suit.
That's scarier.
That is scarier.
Didn't feel the need to find an actor of a smaller stature. Just stick a child in there. It's fine. As long as they fit. Then just get a voice actor.
They fucking needed one for this.
Well, JD, who is Tory's dad, meets some of our other characters now. This is Alex and Ozzie, who are painters with Nathan. One is a child, that's Alex, and one is technically a man, that is Ozzie. But he very much has the mind of a child. He's got big Lenny vibes. He's a lot like Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber. That's the vibe I got from him.
There's a lot of talk in this about them trying to fix his brain as well, which made me quite uncomfortable. It's the whole premise for them having the gold later on is so that they could take him to the hospital and fix his brain.
With what? What surgery is there? They do talk about this at the end, to be fair. It turns out that the boy Alex was just lying to him.
The same surgery they do on Lenny. Just to go buy a gun. It's time for your surgery now, Ozzie. Just look that way. But they are just like two cartoon characters who've just been stuck in a horror movie. He's even, just to show that he's not quite all there, Ozzie wears a shirt that has paintbrushes on it.
Just so you know he's a decorator.
I assume they just have to dress him according to what he's doing that day so he knows.
So he never forgets.
I wear a shirt to work every day with saws and drills on it. So.
And I wear a shirt that says 0 downloads. Well, Ozzie, being the challenged man he is, he gets some paint on himself. So he heads inside to clean himself up. And he starts to hear this child's voice that Daniel O'Grady's wife had also been hearing. It's singing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to him. Having zero critical thought processing about what that might be, he goes straight down into the basement to investigate. He accidentally knocks the 4-leaf clover off the top of this box, and that releases the leprechaun. It goes ham on him for a second. He's I would be freaking out, to be fair.
Definitely.
It's not scary watching it as like a viewer, but to be in that situation, I would be very scared.
Well, yeah, as a viewer, you are just like, well, so far all we know about this leprechaun is that it's got the ability to manipulate people psychologically. And I think some amount of that being impressive or scary is taken away when they have to introduce a mentally stunted character in order for him to trick someone into getting him out. Is that fair?
Yes. But to be fair, you wouldn't, if you'd heard something in a box calling out to you, you wouldn't go down there.
Definitely not. I'd burn the fucking house down.
Oh yeah, it's just such an odd decision to put him in anyway. Like the person who pitched the idea of sticking him in, of just, why don't we have him in? And he seems really nice, and he really cares about the boy, and everyone just laughs at him and is mean to him.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, but yeah, will he like have some sort of redemption arc and show that he's got some worth throughout? No, he's just a fucking hindrance to everything they're trying to do.
No, we're going to kill him.
Oh, we can't kill him. We've given him a name now.
Wait, does he not die at the end?
Nobody fucking dies.
Oh, I thought when he slashed up, he got died. Or was that just
He
his
got died.
default
He
setting?
got died.
That was him functioning at 100%.
He offers to polish his shoes, doesn't he, the leprechaun, and then immediately says he's going to bite his ear off. Fucking pick a lane.
Oh, well, he rushes out. He tells everyone that there's a leprechaun down in the basement, and obviously no one believes him. Oh, that's why he's in the movie, so we can have this whole like cat and mouse game now where nobody believes him. The police later don't believe him. He's kind of the foil throughout all of this. So,
well, that's usually what a child is for, but they made the child
have the brain of an adult.
Yeah. And the adult have a brain of a child.
And then you add a leprechaun and you've got yourself a movie.
Technically, yes.
Well, they don't believe him. They do go in and search, but all they find is a rat down there. They head back outside, and as Ozzie and Alex spot a rainbow in the sky. Ozzie, having just probably gotten this idea from having met a leprechaun, wants to go and see what's at the end of the rainbow because he thinks there'll be gold. So they do go. It points towards a rusted old car out in the field, and they do find a pot of gold in there.
He had to change his shirt to a rainbow-coloured one, though.
Give me
so he
2
can remember
minutes.
what he's doing.
Costume change. Oh, okay. I'm going to do something, but I'm going to cut it out. Okay. I'm going to leave in your laughs, though, so they know it was funny, but it was too fucked for me to leave in. Okay.
Oh, God.
Awful. So Ozzie, upon finding a piece of gold, immediately sticks it in his mouth. And just, as his muscle memory, he swallows anything that goes in his mouth, so that goes straight down into his stomach.
Yeah.
Alex finds the rest of the bag.
This is probably the point where it was at a crossroads of, is this a proper horror or is this something else? Because when I saw him swallow that coin, I was just like, well, we're about to watch this guy get disemboweled in the next 10 minutes.
That's what I was thinking.
Because that's what should have happened in a good horror movie. This guy's getting torn open.
Well, they alluded to that at the end as well, but they never do it.
It never really felt like anything bad was really going to happen, though. It never felt like it was working up to something horrible, apart from the fella in the shop later. It's all pretty tame.
Because he doesn't have a name.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a case where he swallowed the gold coin and then it kind of corrupts him. And because he's the big bruiser that everybody thinks is lovable, that's the betrayal. And then he'd start attacking the kid and everything. And suddenly go insane, and then they have to kill him. But nothing ever happens. He just, at some point, will shit out a gold coin.
And whether he's wearing his gold coin shirt or not, he'll remember what that's from.
But this whole, very early on, it's pretty ham-fisted how they do the whole, she's a city girl, all she cares about is money, she tries to pay them off when she bumps into them. And the whole thing is, I guess, greed kills. You shouldn't be greedy. You need to stop caring so much about money. Seems to be what they're really shoving in your face early on. And then that just really dies a death.
Yeah.
Because I thought, they'd each end up at one point or another getting the bag of coins or a coin. And it wouldn't corrupt them in a magical sense. It'd corrupt them in a money corrupt sense, and they'd want to keep it. And that's how they'd all die. But it just never really happens. Most of the time, no one has any money at all.
And that's what I love about you, Carl. Is even with a massive pile of shit like this, which absolutely did not have any kind of lesson to be learned, you still dug through it and found what it was meant to be. I tried really hard, especially after that last Goosebumps, which was completely voidless of a message. I was like, this has to have something. There's got to be more to this than a guy running about. And you found it.
Well, I was wrong.
Well, no, they don't do it, but that's what it was meant to be.
I decided pretty early on, I know everything that's going to happen in this movie. And none of it happened, because nothing happened. There's a little leprechaun using every type of vehicle imaginable at different points. But how many things can we stick Warwick Davis in and make him pedal it or drive it or lay on it?
It's absolutely pedal. Engines don't come that small. So in this scene as well, this is also where Alex says that they'll use the money from the gold coins to fund an operation to make Ozzie more smarter. We then switch back over to Nathan and Tory, and this is very much a scene which alludes to what Carl was talking about, where it's kind of this Hallmark movie love affair between
city girl, country boy.
Yeah.
He's teaching her how to paint, isn't he?
Yeah,
apparently.
I would not look at this man and be like, he knows what he's doing. He's covered in perfect brush strokes on his own arms.
I was eagerly awaiting this scene when you two put it in the chat, and it pays off. They have been doing this job easily 5 hours, and there are 3 strokes of paint on the wall in one colour, that is blue, and then 1 stroke in red. And you can imagine these colours because they're the primary versions of red and blue, like what you'd find in a nursery or playgroup.
This is a
like
cartoon
the only
house.
colours kids can fucking see.
But yeah, it's like they've hired an attention deficit disorder painting company because part of the house is done, then a little square of the window's done, and they go back to the house, still a little bit over there. Then I'll paint myself for a bit, apparently.
And then he opens his 4th can of paint.
Yeah.
What have they used it all on?
Drinking it.
After calling her out for women being scared of everything, he hands her a brush and she does 1 brush stroke and he just goes, wow. The most sexist man ever. So, I thought it was only like the special needs guy and children that I've hired that can paint, but women too. I just also love that we see the van and their company is just called 3 Guys That Paint. So, Does Ozzie pick the name, did he?
Obviously, yeah.
Oh, God.
You boys didn't have any notes for this, but it's my favourite scene, so I have to mention it. This is where Nathan asks Tory to go to the car to get some more paint. Having just seen him, she turns around, walks in the opposite direction from him, grabs a can of paint, and then feels something stroking her leg sensually. And then her first thought is, oh, Nathan.
Like it would be a normal thing for a man to... I'll just
hide
crawl
under
the
The
truck.
car. Yeah.
And later on, we find out that this entire movie takes place in one day. From her arriving to the end of the movie is all one day.
Yeah.
And she's already just like, I'm going to fuck this guy. I didn't like him this morning, but things have really grown between us.
I don't care if he hides under a van like a fucking cat. He's a normal guy.
It's just what they do in the country, I guess.
She also says to her dad, I know what it's... I might be paraphrasing, but I know what it feels like when someone's caressing my leg.
Yeah.
When a
Weird
man
thing
is.
to... what a weird thing to say to your dad.
He thinks that too, because he's like,
Raggy?
Well, she eventually realises it's not him when Nathan is stood beside her again, because he was behind her the entire time. And she starts to freak out. She says she knows what a man's hand feels like. And clearly she doesn't, because it's not a man's hand touching her.
Unless that man has leprosy.
And claws. JD, which is her dad, asserts it was an animal that scratched her. Then he hears a cat over in the nearby tree. He sticks his hand in, which, even if it is a cat, don't do that.
No.
They won't enjoy it if it's trapped in the tree. It scratches him.
I mean, this is coming from Evan, and the things that your cats are cool with is insane.
They're malleable. If they know you're their king, they will allow you to do anything. And that makes it sound like I sexually abuse them, which I
Yeah, it does a
absolutely
bit.
do not.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's just because cats are generally not very chill creatures, but yours are the chillest animals I've ever met.
Yeah.
But yeah, 100% I would expect to get my hand slashed off by a cat, never mind
Yeah.
Warwick
But
Davis hiding in a
insane.
tree.
But he still thinks it's a cat when it's clearly a human bite mark in his wrist.
Yeah.
Well, we never know because he's just gone now.
Oh yeah, this is the last time. They drop him off at the hospital now. We never see Tory's dad again. Well, I say never again. This all takes place in a day, so, he might be there tomorrow, but we'll never see it, thankfully.
Finish that fucking painting job.
She could have stayed with Dad at the hospital, but she's got dick to ride.
Yeah. Oh, they take him to the hospital. Ozzie and Alex do not give a shit about him, so they go do their own little side quest now. They go to a coin collector place. I've got the name here, actually. It's excellent. It's a shop called Collectible Joe's Coins, a name which suggests that Joe himself is the collectible item, whilst the coins he buys are generic. I paused to check. Collectible Joe's Coins. As they walk in, we see that the leprechaun has followed them there, and they asked for a valuation of it, and Collectible Joe values the coin at $500, unless there's historical value, in which case it could be priceless. There is no reason for him to say that, because you could say it with anything.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine he tags it on just to sound more interesting every time. You bring in a Pokemon card that's all fucking ripped, and he goes, this is worth 50 cents. Unless it has historical value, in which case. So he asked them to leave the coin with him. He'll pop it in his safe. He wants to do some research because even though he knows it's pure gold, it's got markings on it he doesn't recognize. So he wants to give them a fair deal. They leave, and then as he's just looked at the first page of his book, he starts getting fucked with by the leprechaun. He goes to put the coin in the safe, and the leprechaun jumps out of the safe, fucks him up a bit, and then, best death scene in any movie ever, the leprechaun pogo sticks on his chest until he dies.
Yeah, that was fantastic. And the point where I assumed now we start seeing people die.
Yeah, you would think so. Also, judging by how top-heavy he was, we saw at the beginning of the film, a pogo stick probably isn't the best means of fucking murder for this guy. He's gonna be flying off in all different directions. He's already unstable.
That's why he's on a tricycle and not a bicycle everywhere else. 2 wheels is simply not enough.
What I loved about this whole thing as they have their little side quest is that Nathan and Jennifer Aniston, they've gone to classic old American diner at the same time, and they're having this back and forth conversation, which is not that important. But I think they must have only paid for the rights to one song in this movie, because at the very start of the film, when Jennifer Aniston appears, we get the 4-leaf clover song. And then they go to the diner and the 4-leaf clover song is playing. And then we cut to a few different scenes around the place and we come back and the 4-leaf clover song is on. And then we go back and they've left the Collectible Joe's coin store. And then Collectible Joe gets murdered and we cut back to the diner and Ozzie and the boy have shown up and the 4-leaf clover song is on. It's just this diner has been playing one song on a loop.
And yet they still have to go and see Mr. O'Grady at the end to find out what gets the fucking... It's not like it hasn't been incepted into their brains that 4-leaf clovers exist, is it?
In that scene as well, they're chatting, like, because they're waiting for Alex and Ozzie to arrive, and they're a bit worried. And then Nathan says, "Oh, don't worry so much about them. They're both just kids."
Yep. We
know why the guy can't paint. Because he's fucking blind. Ozzie looks like a professional wrestler 2 decades into his career.
Do you reckon that they initially were going to employ 2 child actors for these roles? And then they just found the perfect adult and went, no one will notice.
He was just hanging around on set. Just wandered it. That's not acting.
The leprechaun suit shrunk and the paintbrush shirt accidentally stretched, and that's not going to fit a child now. Just shove it on an adult man.
It's at the bit where Collectible Joe's getting fucked up. This is, it comes back later on as well, but it's at this point. I love you, Warwick Davis, but I could beat the shit out of him if I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? And you can see later on that they do. But why does this man put up 0? He got bitten on the leg by him, fair enough, that would hurt. You could just punch this leprechaun in the head a load of times.
Well, they do whack him and stuff, but he seems unfazed by it. But I get the cathartic element of doing it. You know?
I'm not saying I want to beat Warwick Davis up, but...
If nobody's getting hurt, is it wrong?
If a tree falls in the woods...
But the leprechaun's powers do seem to vary depending on what the writers need him to achieve in that scene.
Oh, I've got a list.
Because there are points where he seemingly can teleport.
He can, yes.
But also has 2 separate Warwick Davis-sized cars. Plus some rollerblades.
Yes, and a skateboard.
And a skateboard.
Where he chases a woman through a field where her gait is probably about 4 times his.
Yeah.
At one point, he's got a wheelchair and he's got a tricycle.
Yeah, he loves modes of transport. If you can teleport, you find more love for more traditional methods of travel.
It gets a bit old hat.
Here is the next scene where we first see his tiny car. He's driving down the road, trying to find them, chases them to the hospital, supposedly. and a police officer pulls him over. I don't think for speeding, but for being what appears to be a child in a child-sized car on the road. This officer's like, that cannot be insured. So he pulls him over, and then is like, what are you, some kind of leprechaun or something? And then the leprechaun chases him through a forest, plays with him. You see him teleport a bunch behind the trees. It's like quite mystic fairy type stuff as he's playing with him, and then he snaps his neck.
Yeah, kills him. The policeman throws his fucking baton at him and misses horrendously.
Again, not scary to watch, but to be in that scene.
Yeah.
He's taken your gun, by the way. He took his gun on the road. So you've only got the baton. I'd panic and throw it. What are you going to do? Even if he comes near you, you've seen him teleport. His power level's well beyond you. If there's top trump cards of you and the leprechaun, you lose every time.
Every single category, apart from height. Whoa,
top trump. Yeah, top trump has height and weight, thank you.
Accent credibility.
2 out of 5 times you win. Now the leprechaun, who we never get a name for, by the way. I think he's always just the leprechaun, right?
Yeah.
He goes back to the cabin to search for the pot of gold. But as he's doing it, he gets distracted by a bunch of shoes in the closet and starts to polish and arrange them on the table. And here I wrote a big bit about how it's so weird that they included in this movie lore for the leprechaun being that he has to clean shoes, and it being like when you put salt out for like a vampire or a ghost and they have to count each grain before they can come kill you, and how insane that is. But there's a scene in this movie 20 minutes away that confirms that that is the lore for this leprechaun. They have to polish every boot they see before they can kill you.
Well, not they. It seems to be just him. Yeah, he has been cursed to be a leprechaun, but before he was a cobbler or a shoemaker, so he's got some weird Quentin Tarantino style fetish about shoes and just can't help himself whenever he sees one. Yeah. It's like Johnny can't help but just do woodwork all the time.
I can't.
If it's your job, you just can't help yourself. Johnny has ruined so many family dinners.
Get that shit off the table. There's a serial killer, Jerry Brudos, I think his name was, who used to steal shoes from the victim, I think. There's no funny part about that, it's just popped into my head.
We needed a fucked fact.
Yeah, there you go.
It is odd that of all the powers he has, the one that he doesn't have that would make him far scarier is the power to know where his gold is. Because he is just swinging in the wind, just attacking anyone he sees who might have. If he had this ability to drag his gold, Ozzie would have been split open in 5 minutes. But he's just guessing.
We can only hope that the 5th category of that top trump card is knows where his gold is. Because that and weight and height we've got, boys.
Right now, I've also got that on my top trump card over him because I know where his gold is.
3 out of 5 ain't bad, man.
Going around sniffing the air and licking random bags.
So the guys are all home now. The leprechaun couldn't find the gold, but they come back to find the whole place torn apart. They come back. Nathan thinks it could have been a bear that tore apart the apartment and put all the shoes on the table. And everyone's just like, yeah, okay, bears do that.
Famously.
And they start to hear a bell ringing about the place. At first, it's kind of like it's actually Ozzie ringing a bell. And then it's actually the leprechaun outside. Nathan goes outside to check it out and steps into a miniature bear trap. The leprechaun appears and starts harassing him for his gold. He takes a massive chunk out of his leg. So this is where we find out, God, this guy fucking loves biting and scratching. It is his favourite thing to do. He's got so many magic powers, which I'll list at the end, but more than anything, this guy loves to bite and scratch.
He's a big scratcher boy.
Yeah.
Specifically lower legs. Even if he gets you on the floor, he is snapping at ankles.
It's muscle memory.
Yeah.
But this is where the whole greed is bad thing starts to fall apart, as much as it was ever there. I thought I saw it, but because Nathan kind of represents all of the you shouldn't just be caring about money, care about people sort of thing, and he's the one who just gets fucked up.
Yeah.
And you would think it would be the people
the wholesome
who
character. Yeah.
are the greedy people. But it just I think they just kind of went, we have just kind of shoved 3 really nice people into this group, and now none of them tick the boxes to be killed, so
No.
maybe he'll just start biting randomers.
It's where... What's the little boy called? I can't remember his name.
Alex.
He... one of them says something about a leprechaun, and he says, "No shit, Sherlock." At which point Ozzie rightly chastises him, and then he's like, "What? Am I just going to ground myself for 2 weeks?" This boy is such a little fucker. If I spoke to my mum like that, he hits him with his hat as well, flippantly. If I said that to my mum, she would have roundhoused me out a fucking window. This is why I swear so much now, just so if she tries, I can counter her with a DDT or something.
This kid does not have parents, Johnny. They are gone. Probably for the same reasons that you hate him. But there's a reason this boy is working with a challenged man, and...
Is it his brother?
Surely not. They look nothing alike.
It's about a 40-year age difference. Mum and Dad had me and just instantly died.
Yeah.
And now my older brother has to take care of... Or I have to take care of him.
We glossed over it a bit, but he's the one, like, running the business as well, this child. He's a bad actor and a little shit, but he's the one, like, it's meant to be, like, cutesy and stuff. It just really irritated me the whole way through.
Do we think that Nathan is actually mentally challenged as well? Because he can't paint, and he's not running the business, like you said. He's sort of just hanging around. Do you think he's just so good looking, people don't think that
He's just in it for the chicks.
It is possible that there is, just down the road, a home for kids whose parents are gone and they're mentally challenged, and they do outings to do painting, and you can hire them, and it's a really nice day out for them. And then this guy's done that, hasn't told his daughter, and then she's just putting in the graft on the one that she thinks is all right.
It'd be weird if she chose the other two, wouldn't it?
Oh, well, Nathan beats on the leprechaun a bit, but it doesn't really do much. Although it is cathartic to see him whack Warwick Davis with a torch for a bit. For some reason, they send Ozzie to phone the police. Obviously, that doesn't go well. It's a bit of a fool's errand. And he mentions that it's a leprechaun attacking them. And the police are like, that's Ozzie. He phones every week about a Bigfoot or a unicorn or a leprechaun. Just ignore it. So they do.
But why does he do that? Because he doesn't seem like a guy who lies. He's been telling the truth the whole time.
Yeah.
This is the multiverse this movie should have branched into, not 6 more leprechaun movies.
Just Ozzie fighting different mystical creatures and no one believing him every few months.
Ozzie the cryptid hunter.
Every time he gets fucked up. He never wins.
By like the 6th film, he's just this weathered, scarred man, head to toe in armour with a shotgun.
Well, armour that's got a picture of hunting cryptids on it, though, so he knows what he's doing. Just a luck down.
Oh. Alex pops into the house, gets the shotgun, passes it to Nathan, and Nathan fucking blasts the leprechaun into a bush. God, I love it every time it happens. Never get tired of seeing it. And then he empties the barrel into the bush, and he calls them... I think he calls them clips.
He calls
them rounds. They are shells.
Shells.
They are shells. He also says that he put 6 rounds into that thing. I posit that he put 1 shell into it and 5 into a bush.
This is what I mean by what are his powers, because they seem to vary depending on what's required, because the very opening scene, we establish that he can 100% be hurt by a gun when Mr. O'Grady shoots him and then puts him in a box.
Yeah, he does go down a bit, I suppose.
I think it hurts him, doesn't it? But yeah.
But then at the end, Mr. O'Grady says you put the 4-leaf clover on first and then shoot him, and then that'll kill him. So he did it the wrong way round. But again, they don't even do that in this. But we'll get to that because I really want to talk about that scene. They run out of shells, and so they run for the car. But the leprechaun's fiddled with the innards and they can't get away. It very much reminded me of Dog Soldiers, Johnny, where they get into fucking 5 different cars and every one of them has been fiddled with a mechanical werewolf. The leprechaun fucking is dodging around the car trying to get in. But then, great scene, he runs into the barn where he has left a kind of mini Batman tumbler, you know, like the Dark Knight tumbler from the Christopher Nolan movies. Yeah. Tiny one of those. He drives it into the car. It's got like a little pitchfork on the front. And I thought they'll just do something comical where the pitchfork will just go in and it's a bit of a laugh. But it rolls the fuck out of that car. They go flying.
It's like this Mad Max version. That just you hear him like welding in there, and they're just still sat in the truck for some fucking reason. They haven't got out, knowing that there's no fucking engine in it, and it just flips the whole fucking. What would have happened in real life is it would drive into the side of that and then just stop. There's a 3-ton pickup truck, and he's hit it with a go-kart.
It's another one of his powers. He's got little supercars. I love it. Absolutely nothing to do with the character or the cobbler origins from which he came, but I love the flavour it adds.
Was this continued into space? Is he building little spacecrafts?
No, in space he does get a new power though. He can turn big, and he turns into like Giant Man version of the Leprechaun. Even though it's the last movie you would think he would do that in, because he's in a spaceship, which does have a restricted height. It would have made more sense in this movie, where you're on Earth and you can crush things. But the one movie, I don't even think he does it in the hood.
Oh, none of us should be allowed to say in the hood.
I can't wait to watch it.
No.
They escape back into the house. After he checks the car, he finds that they're gone. He like sticks his hand in the door and it cuts off. And you see like his hand reanimates and opens the door for him. That's another one of his powers. But they get into the kitchen and lock themselves in. This is where Alex finally tells Tory about the gold they stole. Sort of semi-confirming that he is actually a leprechaun. Even though she's seen him and he obviously is a leprechaun.
He's got an Irish accent.
He's alluding to an Irish accent. She decides to be the one to go outside, fetch the gold from the well where it's hidden, and just give it to the leprechaun. End all of this. That's all he wants. It's all he's been saying. Give me my gold.
You watch a lot more horror than me, Evan.
Yeah.
But this feels like the first creature, that horror monster that I can think of, that is giving some sort of ultimatum. Like usually it's decided you're going to die, you're going to die. But this one's just like, well, just give me my gold back and you get to live. That feels different to me.
I agree. We watched The Ring recently, Carl, and I'd forgotten this element of the movie, but in that, she doesn't tell you, but she alludes that if you copy the tape
I don't think she even alludes.
Someone else,
I don't
if you guess that this is what she wants.
It's a happy accident.
Well, I'm not saying there aren't
you
rules to getting out of being murdered. But in this one, it genuinely just goes, well, just give up the gold.
And I'll go away.
And I'll go away, yeah. It's the whole don't be greedy and money obsessed thing.
Just want my gold. Give him his gold, and it's all gone. It's fine. He leaves, he goes back to his little cave, sorted.
But he doesn't need to kill, he just wants his gold.
I know another movie that's exactly like this. Like exactly.
Is it Leprechaun in the Hood?
It's Leprechaun 2. I was going to say, yeah. Damn, too many steps ahead of me, bro. So she gives him the gold, and he lives up to his end of the bargain. He's like, this is all I wanted. Even gives her a little kiss. It's quite funny. And he sits down, and one other power he doesn't have is automatically knowing how much gold is in the bag, because he counts it piece by fucking piece. But he looks like he enjoys it. He's like, 1, 2, 3, and he gets the 99 out of 100, and is like, there's a fucking piece missing, and he gets riled up again. But if you do the calculations on this leprechaun is doing all of this. We've had to sit through this. He's killed so many people. He's got powers for this amount of money. In total, it's 50 grand's worth of gold.
Yeah. $50,000, yeah.
If we believe Collector Joe's valuation. Yeah. Unless there's historical value, in which case it's 100 times priceless. Yeah. Which I think is 0. Little maths joke for you.
But it does, the whole he can't find where his gold is thing does mean that no one's ever just left. Because everyone just stays where they are, so you can always just come back and say, where's my gold? Why can't you just not be around anymore then with his gold?
Can he track the people but not the gold? Also, they didn't steal his gold.
But they were near where his gold... Well, this is it. This is how little
he
fucking connection he has
Joe.
to his gold.
Yeah. And Joe just hands him the gold coin.
The Joe collection's now missing one.
Collectible Joe is now a much rarer collectible.
The The price on Joe's
He's
has just
probably
gone
worth
up.
more, yeah. We now get the scene where he's back in the house, and I know you've been dying to talk about this, boys. He's in a cupboard. He closes the doors. They open the doors. He's not in that cupboard. He pops out of another cupboard. We get that a couple of times. Then all the doors of all the cupboards are open, and his little leprechaun arm pushes out of a drawer beneath Nathan, and instead of doing anything maniacal, pinches Nathan's shaft, which you can see, there's full finger to shaft connection, and gives it a little twist, and then pops his arm back in the drawer.
Oh, there isn't an age where you don't, as a man, just curl up a little bit. And I did think we were about to witness a man get castrated.
Yeah.
Which, with the lack of violence in this horror movie, I would have probably been on board for.
Yeah. How much coke was going around the writer's room when they
Not
were
enough.
like...
Not enough.
Not fucking enough.
No, but to have an idea that he's just going to grab his dick and twist it.
Oh,
I know you want to say it, Evan.
there's a video I
Yeah.
fucking love, which I wish somehow I could share with everybody who's listening. Grab his dick! Grab his dick and twist it! The old dick twist! It's so fucking good.
It's at an MMA fight, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes! The old dick twist! The guy
I don't
is
think
so
I've ever
fucking
seen
drunk.
this.
It's amazing.
It's so funny. He's like in like the first 2 rows of the fucking fight.
And he's fucked.
Yeah.
And it's the first round.
Yeah.
It's so good. Yeah, no need for the scene. It's funny, I suppose. And this is where, even though it'd been silly up until now, they'd given up completely on any sort of horror. This takes it too far to the other side, and you can't take the rest of this movie seriously. And it kind of asks you to, in a bit. When you go to see Mr. O'Grady and he comes through the elevator and everything, I think that's supposed to be scary, but it's not.
No.
It cannot be
No.
because of this.
There's an old man hanging from the ceiling. It is nothing but funny.
Yeah.
Getting ahead, they go see the wise old man, and he's just hanging through the ceiling of an elevator. This is the man with all the answers.
And she's like, "Oh, let me get you down," and he's like, "Nah, I'm just gonna chill here. I'm just gonna bleed to death through this fucking elevator shaft."
Well, let's push through and get there. We've not got much left, to be fair. Not a lot happens in this tail end of the movie. So they chase the leprechaun around the house for a bit, shooting at it. It's running around. It survives. This is where he's on the skateboard and he just goes up and down the same hallway, and Nathan stands in the adjacent hallway and just
skateboard.
shoots at one spot 4 times. It's just really this is when we were all fed up. We were like, how is this movie still happening?
This bit made me laugh though, because it's like Scooby-Doo, where you see it like just
Yes,
go from
yes.
like one side of the screen to the other, and he's like lying down on it, like posing like one of your French girls, and then like fucking doing a handstand on it, and it's like, why is this even happening? Why is that happening? He's just fucking with them now. He's a little prankster. He's like a little Bart
I
Simpson.
quite like that element. If
I
they
thought it was
lent
cool,
more
yeah.
into that, but because you can add a scary twist to trickster type stuff, make him a
Yeah.
little Loki type character who's also murderous. But it never treads that line as well as you'd want it to. And maybe it's just a product of the time.
Yeah.
Or maybe this
Yeah.
is exactly what it was intended to be, and we are just not fans.
I feel like they nailed that tone you're talking about perfectly when he pogoed a man to death.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
everything you're looking for in this character, and they just don't
Yeah.
follow through with it.
That sort of
All
manic
of the
sort
murders
violence.
could have been,
Yeah.
kind of in that vein, but it's just not done.
You're
Yeah.
right. That's why I like the Collector Joe scene so much, apart from his store being named Collectible Joe's Coins, which is fucking excellent.
Now they're like trying to go to see Mr. O'Grady.
Well, in a second, first of all, he calls
Oh yeah.
on the phone.
Yeah.
And she answers and is scared at first and puts it down. And then he calls again and she's like, "What do you want?" And I could have paused the movie at this point and told you what the line was going to be, because we all know what he fucking wants. He wants his fucking pot of gold.
I want me feckin' gold. That was deliberately bad, by the way. That's how he said it.
And we know that gold is inside Ozzy. And then this is where it's setting up, like Carl said earlier, that he's going to tear Ozzy apart for this gold. You're going to get blue balls. That never happens.
Yeah.
But also, him constantly asking for the pot of gold reminds me of when a Jehovah's Witness comes to your door and you just cannot get rid of them, no matter how much you tell them, I cannot be saved. I have done too much bad stuff to go to heaven. You're wasting your time. They still want that sweet pot of gold. I don't have it for you, buddy.
Move along.
Now they decide to go to the rest home, which is an insane thing to call whatever they're supposed to be called. It being called that wiped the actual name of the homes from my head. To speak to Mr. O'Grady. Care home. Thank you.
But before that, when they're getting in the car to go there, they come out with all the shoes and throw it to the other side like he's a fucking golden retriever.
I mean, he is. It works.
Yeah, and it does work. Apparently that's their thing. It's pranks, dick pinching, and shoe repair.
See, this is another thing I feel like they missed out on. We're told that he used to be a cobbler, but he was cursed into being a leprechaun, which I assumed was due to greed and linked to his pot of gold. And I thought that more people were going to become leprechauns through this by keeping the coins.
Yeah.
That's what I thought would happen to Ozzy. That would be like he going into like a partial transformation because he had one coin on him.
Slowly starts shrinking.
But they got to chuck that fucking paint shirt in the wash to get it to fit.
Do you reckon accent? Do you reckon that just comes with it? Or do you reckon it just depends on where you were from originally?
From this, we know that the accent does not come with it.
Depends how lazy the casting director is.
Or maybe you lose it, because apparently this individual leprechaun is from Ireland, so maybe you lose your sense of identity.
Yeah.
Apart from your job, you absolutely keep whatever your job was.
Maybe Mr. O'Grady was a normal American man until he got back, and then he was just downing Jamesons, talking in that voice. He's already on his way.
Everybody's travels in a limousine in Ireland. Traffic is a fucking nightmare.
Really, really big corners so that they can all get round.
They've all got to have the fucking hook like the Batmobile to do the corners. Oh. So they get to the care home. Absolutely no staff watching the old people. This girl is just allowed to walk through the front doors and to a random room to find Mr. O'Grady.
There's a security guard there.
Oh, I missed
the
him.
only thing he has is a clipboard that just says patients' rooms on it or something like that.
Yeah.
And just has every single person's name or residence, something or other, and their room. But I don't feel like that's his job.
No.
In a care home. I feel like he's not going like door to door, going, "Yep, still here." Tick. Tick. This one hasn't escaped.
He's keeping
today.
him in. Yeah. He's not keeping people out. Well,
It does seem that way.
Yeah. Because she can just walk in.
Based on what we were talking about earlier, he's probably going, "Oh, Ozzy's not back yet. Nathan's not here."
Well, Tory finds the room and she walks in, starts talking to the back of this guy's head, which is clearly the back of a head which does not belong to an 80-year-old man because the locks are luscious.
Yeah.
It turns around, it's obviously the leprechaun. It chases her in the wheelchair through the hospital.
Baffling.
Thank you. I was baffled there. Did you see how baffled I was?
Yeah.
Just remembering the scene. I'll leave in that silence, that baffled silence.
It was him obviously sped up because he can't wheel the chair fast enough to keep up with a slowly running woman. And even in the scenes where he wasn't sped up, you could see her making ground on him.
It's baffling.
For someone who can teleport, he's doing this. So he's making so much more work for himself.
Yes, but he loves alternate forms of travel, Johnny.
And dick
But
pinching.
because of that penchant for alternate forms of travel, she gets into an elevator and the doors close before he gets there. And then this is where Mr. O'Grady collapses through the ceiling. That styrofoam ceiling of all elevators.
Is that explained?
No.
How he just pops through the elevator ceiling? Did he jump? Was he thrown?
The leprechaun got there first.
He was just
I think
hanging out.
He says something about... I'm leaving that silence in just for you. and you know the leprechaun got to him because he is bitten and scratched to fuck.
Yeah.
And we know this is our G's favourite thing to do.
Yeah.
Well, we can't even see his ankles.
It was. Ribbons.
And the whole point of this whole scene was for this line of dialogue, which is get the four-leaf clover, put it on the leprechaun, put it on him, and then shoot him with a gun, and he will probably die. Tory heads back to the house alone.
Put it on
I
him
think.
like I didn't do at the beginning for some reason.
No, nor do they do at the end of this movie. Tory starts digging around in a clover patch looking for four-leaf clovers. She can't find one. The leprechaun has teleported and attacks her, chases her through the streets to the cop car from earlier where I think I hadn't mentioned this. So the sheriff had received a call from Tory and he called a nearby officer, but the leprechaun had killed him and mimicked the voice of the officer to call off any other cops before then. They get to that cop car. Tory stabs the leprechaun in the eyes, which I thought was really cool. I thought, finally we're picking up again. We might get to some more action. And the leprechaun takes the eyes of the dead police officer, pops them in, and then he's fine again, which I thought was cool.
Yeah, also a new power that we haven't seen before.
Yes. You know, that's
Why
not
is
in my
that here
list.
now? Why wasn't that here? That would have been so much cooler if he could just reconstitute himself from the people he'd killed as he was
Yeah,
going.
that would be sick. It'd be like some kind of Leatherface.
Rather than
thing.
him just getting the shit kicked out of him and being unmarked, if he was just fixing himself with bits of other people throughout the movie.
Jeepers Creepers does that.
Yeah, there was a bit where when she's running to the cop car and he was chasing her, I was like, stride length alone, you should be able to outrun someone
That's
with
the
more...
fourth category.
Yeah,
We're winning.
like a leprechaun or something like that. You know, like little legs. Whatever.
You're going to have to Photoshop together this top trumps card now. Height, weight, stride length, knows where his goal is.
I was curious to see what the fastest 100 meters time for someone with dwarfism was, because I was like, I genuinely had no idea. And the world record holder is in Pirates of the Caribbean. You know, the guy with the shaved head.
I fucking do. He's awesome.
With like the little like soul patch thing.
Yeah, boy.
He is the world record holder, and he did 100 meters in 13.8 seconds. That's pretty fucking good.
I'm trying to figure out if I can do that.
Well, a decent like collegiate sprinter can do it in 12 and a half, and the
Fucking
average
hell.
man is 15 to 20 seconds apparently.
Oh no, let's hope that 100 meters isn't the fifth category.
Yeah.
Otherwise we're fucked, boys.
It baffled me. In my head, I was like, I could definitely outrun the leprechaun, but maybe not. Maybe not. But I could outrun Warwick Davis. Though.
Yeah, I think all you have to do
Maybe
is
not the
outrun
world
Warwick
record holder.
Davis.
Yeah.
What an interesting bit of trivia, thank
Yeah,
you.
there you go.
So just as the leprechaun is about to fuck Tory up in the car, Nathan appears, having come from the hospital too, and blasts him with a shotgun, and they get away. I never get tired of seeing him fly across the screen.
Oh no,
So
he gets
fucking good.
done.
Yeah. And they head back to that clover patch to look for a four-leaf clover. Ozzie's like, it's because you don't believe.
Yeah, this is odd.
Very odd. Tory says, shut up, Ozzie. I'm absolutely fucking sick of your magical bullshit that you've been talking about. And in Ozzie's defense, the only thing he's really talked about in this movie is leprechauns. And he has fucking nailed that.
Yeah.
100% right.
Listen to him. He knows something. I know he doesn't look or act like he knows things, but maybe listen to what he's saying, because he's the only one who knows anything about this.
And it works here because he says believe, and they believe, and they find the four-leaf clover.
But that was never the message of this movie. Because he's saying to her, you've lost your faith. We met this morning, Ozzie. What the fuck you on about, for one? Number two, this was never about faith. This was definitely about greed.
They're just throwing shit at the wall and assuming all of it has stuck. It's just whatever. The leprechaun is still real mad. He starts fucking people up. Oh, he's about to kill Alex, who's gone to the barn to try and do something.
The
but
bear
Ozzie...
trap. Yeah.
The bear trap, yes. Ozzie runs in, tells the leprechaun that the gold he's looking for is actually in his stomach. The leprechaun's gonna tear him apart, and this is the scene we've all been hoping for, because it's the scene they fucking set up throughout this entire movie. To be fair, he does get slashed up.
He takes his buckle off, doesn't he, and starts slashing at his
just
face.
slashing at his stomach and
He
face and
goes
everything.
full Peaky Blinder on
Yes, yeah.
Ozzie.
And then Alex runs out, has the four-leaf clover, he takes bubble gum from his mouth, wraps the four-leaf clover around it, puts it in his slingshot, and then slingshots it into the leprechaun's mouth. Everything that just happened was not set up in the movie.
No.
Alex has not been chewing gum. He has never held a slingshot in this hour and a half of screen time.
Dennis the
Nor has he
Menace.
been set up as like the sharpshooter of the group, like fucking Beverly in It.
Okay.
It just, how can we kill the leprechaun? These things. Go.
Have his little Chris Kyle moment, taking long shots with a fucking slingshot.
And then it kills him. It knocks him down the well. He has goes all lightning inside and he falls down. And then he comes back up and he looks a bit like fucking Stripe from Gremlins when he's melting.
Yeah.
And then Nathan
I thought
knocks
that
him
looked
down.
quite good, to be fair.
Yeah, it was great.
It was good practical effect.
It's kind of... There was a lot in the middle missing. There are individual bits which I enjoyed. Well, we're going to get to that. Nathan pours down gasoline, sets the well on fire, it explodes. You assume the leprechaun's dead, but at the end, and obviously because there are a million more movies after this, the leprechaun's voice appears and he's alive. And that's the end of the movie. That's the end of this movie.
They seem to have confused gasoline with a bomb, though. It blows.
They've confused
the
a lot
thing
with a
to-
lot in this movie.
Thematically.
Leprechauns with vampires.
Yeah.
Leprechauns with cobblers. Cobblers with people who need to count and polish shoes.
They have a compulsion to count.
And before we get into what we thought of this movie, I would like to do my fact. And I actually want to kind of preface this with an apology because it's a lot more fucked than usual. So I'll remove my... Because I usually have a bit of a jokey tone with these. And, you know, it's not always the most comical of content. But this one is pretty bad. So this is maybe the only one like this I'll do.
Uh-oh.
So prepare yourselves. The fact for this is somehow... This movie got 5 sequels. Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3, Leprechaun 4 in space, Leprechaun in the Hood, and then Leprechaun Back to the Hood. 2 The Hood movies.
Don't
and
forget,
then
Evan. Leprechaun
the
Returns.
Legacy reboot, Leprechaun Origins, and then the sequel to that, Leprechaun Returns.
Jesus Christ.
Absolutely insane.
That is fucked. That is...
Isn't it? I found some stuff viable for fucked facts, but that is the most fucked thing for this movie. So many sequels. There are actually good movies, completely unrelated, but The Nice Guys, one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and is probably never getting a sequel.
No.
They keep teasing us with it, but it's not going to happen.
And
because
they
nobody
could make
went
one
to see
so
it.
easily as well. It would be so good. Oh,
It's
God, that
such a
film
good
bangs.
movie.
Yeah.
I think horrors have the advantage of they always tend to be made on a low budget.
Yeah, that's
So
gotta be
if
it.
one does well, they are going to fucking milk that thing dry. We are getting Saw 10 this week.
Yeah. It looks pretty good.
Apparently it's very good.
Yeah.
Saw 10 is going to be between Saw 1 and 2. They're just going back. That's when the
Hate
story's
that.
set.
He's dead, isn't he? So they have to go back.
Yeah.
Apparently they're handing out sick bags. It's probably just a promotion thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
definitely.
yeah.
I always,
can't imagine
every
it's
week,
that
I
bad.
see this fucking article that's like, this new movie on Netflix has had people crying in tears. They can never watch it again. And I'm watching it. It's just fucking garbage.
Yeah.
I hate this new marketing bullshit. Stop telling me it's that. But the one I fell for, though, was The Terrifier. Because after a run of those, I was like, oh, I bet it's not even that bad. And then he chainsawed a woman from fanny to face. And I had to turn the movie off.
Do you know what's getting a sequel soon?
The Terrifier.
The Terrifier.
Number 3.
Probably number
coming
4,
out, yeah.
right?
Is
Oh,
it?
it's 3 coming out, yeah.
God.
Number 2 was the one everybody went to see in cinemas. I haven't even seen that one. They raved about that, so I watched the first one, and it was not
And this
fun.
will be the 4th in the series, right? Because there's an All Hallows something or other.
Yes, and there's a short film before that he was part of as well. So there we go. Oh, before we wrap up as well, let's go through the powers of the leprechaun. And I wanted to do this because it reminded me of going through the powers of Jared, the Goblin King in Labyrinth, all the way back in episode 3 of this podcast, which was, God, more than a year ago, a year and 2 months ago, more than that even. What the leprechaun can do: mimic voices, stroke powers, close doors with his mind/hand, but we can also close doors with our hands, so not that impressive. He has
That's on my
really
top
strong
trumps card.
hands, yes, because he snaps necks. He can grip people really hard. He loves his scratching and that. But yeah, biting and scratching, loves that too. Teleport, big jump up in the power region, but only when the movie needs him to. can summon appropriately sized cars. Removed limbs can be reanimated. He can skateboard. And then I put in roller skate, but he didn't do that well with that, and he crashed through the fence, so then I did a strike through for that. And then he can replace limbs that he's lost with other people's limbs. And then I've got a list of things that he can't do, and that's find his fucking crock of gold.
Yep.
Which leads us very nicely into the big question of the pod, what we've all been waiting for. Carl, so you think that was good, do you? God, it feels awful asking that. Of course you didn't.
No, I didn't. I think I said before we started, I've never been more worn down by anything than I have by Warwick Davies' attempt at an Irish accent anyway.
Yeah.
Like needles to the brain. But I think what was more difficult was there is a good horror movie in here, but on the spectrum of horror to comedy, they just leaned far too much towards comedy and took something away from it. So saying like The Ring or It Follows, they know where you are. And if he had that ability to know who had his gold, and they all at different times had separate pieces of his gold and he was murdering them, there's a really good dark movie in there.
Yeah.
But instead he's just kind of fannying around on a skateboard, builds a car, makes a few jokes, kills a guy with a pogo stick, which is where it gets good, and then I feel like when he swallowed that coin, they were promising me a really fucking good disembowelment scene, and I didn't get it. And they owe me, so I'm going to say no.
Yeah, that's fair. That is... God, it's fair. Johnny.
No! Nah, yeah, it's not a good film. Like you said, it had good moments in it, maybe, but only really in the comedy bit. The only scary part of it, not even scary, but proper horror bit, was the pogo stick thing. The idea of that maybe the gold would turn them into other little leprechauns or like morph them in some way, or maybe controllable, I thought would have been a really cool idea, and so easily would have been written into it as well. But I don't know, it didn't walk the line of horror or comedy well enough to really be good at either. I don't think I wanted it to be better than it was, and it fell flat a bit. And the last we touched on it briefly, but it was a fucking slog. Like every time I'd pause to take notes, it was
not
still
enough had passed.
So much left.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that long, was it? It was like an hour and a half. Hour and a half. So if they could have condensed it, but it would have been fucking made for TV kind of thing at that point, wouldn't it? So I don't know. It's just lazy writing, I think.
I have to agree with you both. It wasn't good, but I don't think it was good for different reasons. If I had seen this before I'd seen Leprechaun 4, this is an outrageous opinion now, I might have thought this was good, because I would have gone in with the mindset that this was a horror and enjoyed those playful elements. Maybe I'd still have thought it led too much towards comedy and come out on the same side of you boys, but I think I would have enjoyed it more. Having seen Leprechaun 4 first for some fucking reason, it abandons all horror for, I don't know when, but certainly by number 4, it is just a silly movie about what is obviously a silly character chasing around people. And you can see that even from the prosthetics and stuff, because they don't do the scary stuff. He looks more like the fucking Lucky Charms leprechaun in that. So they clearly just lean into, this is a little guy with powers who's chasing you around for his gold. And his gold's in space. And I just loved how wacky that was. Like, there's no seriousness in the movie. So then coming to this, I felt kind of annoyed that they ever alluded to there being horror stuff, because I kind of knew what it became. So still hated it, just for a different reason. Yeah, but I'm glad we've watched it.
Tick it off.
What a movie, eh, boys? It was a movie. We can at least grant it that.
After watching it, we can confirm it is a movie.
Just about.
Well, I think next week, boys, we are going to watch second part of it. If you are both indeed available. Johnny, I think that'll be enjoyable since you did not watch the first part of it.
And
I can give you the time code that we start from. No, don't. Yeah, no, don't. Because otherwise it's a 3-hour movie.
No, not so. I'm going to try and pick up the pieces as we go along and objectively only have seen the second half.
You didn't miss much, if I'm honest. I thought a lot more happened in that first half, but I did enjoy it. After that, we will be watching a fan-suggested movie. I believe we settled on Excision.
Yeah.
Hannah gave us a few options, and that one sounded the best. I believe that was from 2012? And then I think we'll probably do one more Spoopy Season movie before we move on to something new. And with all of that said, please again go check out our episode with Block Blunders. That was an arduous task to write what we did for them. We did something out of the usual, and it put me and Cole to the test there. It was difficult. Forcing him to continue talking to me. I could see you being done for so long, Cole. I know he just wants to go, but we have to finish this. It was like forcing you to do your homework. But thank you, boys, for joining me. I've really enjoyed this. Thank you all for listening. Join us again next week for that Part 2. Follow us over on Twitter and Instagram at So You Think Pod. Follow us over on YouTube at So You Think That Was Good, do you? Please do leave us a 5-star review. And finally, I'm ending this bloody episode. And until next week, everybody, goodbye.
Bye.